I just got back from an advanced screening of John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, and I loved it. The thing that makes this series work so well is that while it's really light on plot, it all takes place in a surprisingly well thought out and well built world. The whole premise of the series is that there is this secret underground society of assassins, and John Wick was like the best of the best of the best of the best. And throughout the course of this now 3-movie series, we get to kind of peel back the layers of what is this organization's structure? How does it function? How is it that not everybody knows about them? And there's so many little details. They have their own currency, they have their own technology, they have their own independent everything. It's like they're operating outside of society. And the more we go into this series, the more complicated everything gets. And it's great because, you know, one of my big gripes about all the big epic superhero movies and all the big fantasy and the sci-fi movies is that, you know, everything starts with 15 minutes of narration, and then John Wick starts by murdering everyone. Every piece of world building information is communicated visually. It's very much like Mad Max Fury Road, where if you blink, you'll miss a reference to a whole culture and a society and everything. So we have Keanu Reeves murdering people, and then we have like this secret assassin society thing, and all these different layers and how they interact and what they all do, and there's all this stuff going in the background. But if you don't care about that, you don't have to care about that. That's why I'm so attached to this series, because it doesn't waste my time. And so as someone who can appreciate a really solidly put together action sequence, this was about 2 hours of that. And that is not to say that it is without flaw. As the franchise has progressed, it has done what many franchises do, where it kind of leans in on the humor in spots where maybe it feels like it needs strengthening. There were some jokes in John Wick Chapter 3 that I felt were really ill-placed, and I felt the same way about Chapter 2, where we have like this action scene, and there's like a bit of comedy that given the placement and the emotional state of the characters involved, I feel like it's very inappropriate. I think both John Wick Chapter 2 and John Wick Chapter 3 are guilty of this. I think one pretty much skated by without doing that. There were a few issues with the way that the action was choreographed. There was this one scene where there were very heavily armored people engaged in combat, and in some parts of that sequence, if they get shot in the head, like their head would reel, but then they'd like come back because they had like this fucking magic armor or whatever. But then in other sequences where they're just like getting like pummeled with bullets, and they're just like standing there like looking at Superman. And I'm okay with the idea of bulletproof Superman armor, but be consistent with it. In John Wick Chapter 1, there was a scene where one character was speaking to another and was describing how John Wick had killed 3 people with a pencil. And then in the second movie, we saw John Wick kill 3 people with a pencil. And the way that that was handled felt like fan service. It felt like, oh, haha, remember this story? Well, you're going to see it now. And that kind of fan service that happened in number 2, I feel like also happened in 3, although less specifically. There would be times when, you know, we'd be having like this big, punchy, squirty, shooty action sequence, and then like characters would stop and be like, oh, John Wick, I'm such a big fan of your work. Oh my God. And if that happened once, okay, fine, it's a joke, but that happened at least twice that I remember, possibly more. And that's just dumb. That's just dumb. And something that struck me as really weird in this movie in particular was that, so there's this super secret society of super secret assassins, right? And they really believe in corporal punishment. And they keep harming their people or telling their people to engage in acts of self-harm to prove their loyalty to the organization in such ways that temporarily or permanently incapacitate them from being able to do their jobs as super secret super assassins. It seems like an organization of this competence and this complexity would not want their people to be unable to do their job. And one issue that plagues this whole franchise actually is the fact that most of the characters are men. Each movie has some kind of, strong female character kind of archetype, but with all these waves and waves and waves and waves and waves of people that John Wick is just killing, it's just a total sausage fest. And each movie has gotten a little bit better about that issue, but there's an inequity there that I think merits discussion more than a 4-minute internet review can do. But all things considered, I feel like those criticisms and those problems are not enough to rip you out of the action most of the time. Watching it is a lot of fun. It is super fucked up and gruesome. It has the best dogs currently in cinema. That's about all I want to say. So John Wick 3 absolutely lives up to its predecessors, lives up to the hype. It escalates the action and the stakes in a way that is beautifully horrible to watch. And I'm so stoked that I was able to see it in this advanced screening. Shout out to my friend Andre, who got me in right at the last minute. So grateful that I had this opportunity. A link to his podcast will be below in the description. And go see John Wick.